What is going on, guys? It's your boy Sickbee, and today we're going to be doing an honest, no bullshit review of the T64. I haven't done a review in quite some time, but since there's new tanks, this needed to happen, right? And I plan on doing a review on every new tank or new tier 6 tank that is an MBT at least, so you guys know what you should grind for to suit your playstyle. Every single tank that was added this patch, at least the MBTs, has their own kind of niche. The T64, in my opinion, is the overall tank, the well-rounded brawler type tank. MBT is a fast, flanking, catch people off guard type of tank, and the Chieftain is the slow, sniper, hard to pen from long distance type of tank. T64. To get the bad things out of the way first, the armor isn't working as intended necessarily. It's very, iffy. Sometimes you bounce a ton and you tank a ton of shots. Sometimes you die really easily. That's just kind of how it works. The second drawback of this tank is it has an awful reverse rate and an awful traverse rate if you aren't going forward. That being said, the tank can be propelled very, very fast. It's a quick tank in a straight line, and it's very maneuverable once you have the thing going, but it's kind of like a train with its traverse rate. As long as, trains don't traverse, and nor does this tank unless you're going forward. If you get yourself stuck, you lose all your energy. It's kind of funny to say. You're pretty much screwed. You have to end up backing up, which is super slow, or traversing out, which is weird because you don't really have a neutral steer in this tank. So yeah, that's in terms of mobility. It's very fast in a straight line, but it cannot turn or go backwards if it loses its speed. The next thing is, again, the armor. Let's talk about the armor. So it has fish scales on the side, which are designed to decrease heat and ATGM use on the side of your tank, which is great. They work really well. They work as intended. I haven't been penned through one of those yet, and I think that they're great. As far as the composite goes on the front of the vehicle, like I said before, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I bounce every shot in the goddamn world, and sometimes I get eaten. Sometimes I get eaten alive through the upper front plate. Today I got penned through the upper front plate while a guy was shooting from below me on Sinai from super far away, and it just seemed like it was kind of a bug. So I don't know if the armor is going to get changed. If you're watching this, months from the time of release, and you're still wondering, if the armor is any different, I would check the patch logs and see if they've changed anything. Maybe I'll put an update in the description or in the comment section down below. What is the best part of this vehicle? Well, I think the gun is my favorite part. Ace Crew. It gets a 7.1 second reload with an autoloader, so it doesn't matter if you lose a crew member, it'll still reload the same amount every time. It gets an APFSDS shell. It gets a really good HE shell, surprisingly enough, and I haven't used it yet, so we're going to kind of skip over that in the review side of this video. But later on down the line, maybe tomorrow or the next day, expect me to play this with HE only as a loadout. It's surprisingly enough. I guess it's fin stabilized. I don't know if it actually is. But it gets 47 millimeters of pen, and apparently it can kill every single tank in the game from the front, or it does some weird splash damage or stuff like that. So we'll have to see. I have to check it out. My main loadout is the B12 round. I think it's the B12 round, or M12. I don't know. The 12. There's a 9 and a 12 for APFSDS. I use the 12, which has way more pen, but at the end of the day, it still is a practice shell, surprisingly enough. I think the rounds that they actually fitted these tanks with had 500 mils of pen or more, but they're using stats from the practice shells that the Russians used, which had like 390 mils of pen, 380, and the reason for that is balancing, and I still think that these rounds are my favorite to use right now. I like the APFSDS. You run into an MBT-70, you shoot him in the left cheek, and you smoke him, and he's done. Any other tank, you shoot him in the normal spots. To combat enemy tanks that are new, like I said, the MBT and the KPZ left turret cheek right next to the gun or the gun mantlet should be a one-shot for you. The right side is the driver, left side is the gunner. If you run into a Chieftain Mark 10, just shoot the barrel, and you should be good with that. So that's basically the T64 in a nutshell. It's not really much different from the other MBT series types. Like, of course, the T64 was the first iteration of an MBT that Russia made. The T62 wasn't considered an MBT. It was a medium tank. But it plays very similar to his T62 with a better reload. I would say a T55, but I don't know what it is about the T62. But I like it better than the T55. It just feels better with the APFSDS. So if you use the T62, imagine that on steroids. And basically you have the T64. It performs very similar to that. Only thing is, again, it just doesn't have a reload. You can see me right here very, very much struggling to turn the tank. It is insane when it's on hard surfaces how bad this tank actually is at maneuvering, unless it's going forward. So in terms of playstyle, the thing has 6 degrees of gun depression, which is great. I think the traverse rate on the turret's pretty good. And remember, you only have composite armor on the front of the vehicle. Front of the turret, front of the upper front plate. Your lower front plate is still vulnerable to every tank in the world, so try to hide that at all costs. And when you're playing this tank, I would say use it as a sniper/brawler. You can get away with sniping. You can get away with, sitting in the back and using the APFSDS and the good reload to your advantage. But you can also get away with kind of getting a little bit closer into city maps and doing some close range type work. It's not as good as the MBT at that, but it also is a little bit stronger, so against normal rounds, you won't die as much as an MBT will. Now, if you're looking to kill one of these things, I'm going to tell you how to do that. I'm terribly sorry. I get shot in the breech constantly in this tank, and it is a smart thing to do. So if you're facing this tank and you don't know if you can pen it or not, knock out its gun. It's very easy to knock out its gun. It has no composite over the breech. I've even been penned through it and killed through the breech. If you're playing this tank, hide your breech. When you're getting shot at, spin your turret left, right, left, right, left, right, so you don't die and you don't lose your breech, because it is extremely frustrating. Now, another thing that this tank gets is ESS, which is the engine smoke system. I believe it's the proper name for it. But basically what it does is you launch smoke out of the back of this tank. The engine mixes fuel or something, and smoke comes out of your exhaust. What this means for it in game is if you use it, it doesn't deploy like a normal smoke system. It doesn't shoot smoke out the front. It doesn't make you unseen unless you drive backwards. But if you drive backwards using the system, you are still going to be seen because it goes so slow in reverse. So the way I use the ESS is in very few situations. If I have to get out of a situation and I know that I want to use smoke, I'll use it to cover my retreat by turning the tank completely around and using the smoke to cover my back. I've also used it to cover off entire lanes of the map, kind of like, I don't know how many of you guys have played World of Warships, but some of the DDs had smoke, and you could like smoke screen the cap, and I would do that in this tank if there's an alley that a lot of people usually fight in between, and I know we want to push to the right side and there's a couple guys behind me. I'll just smoke screen the entire thing, put my body on the line, and hopefully the rest of my team can move behind that smoke screen and get into cover and go to a different side of the map. So that's basically it for the T64. In my terms, it's the favorite tank, like my favorite tank that they've added this patch. The Leopard is still my baby, but I just can't stop playing this tank. It's so fun. I absolutely adore it. You get games like this where you kind of just roll through people, and you get games where you die really fast. And I think there's no in-between. I've hardly had in-betweens. It's usually 3 kills, 1 death, or an insane game. I mean, absolute monster games that this thing can produce. And then we're only a couple days in to the patch, maybe a week now, right? No, we're 4 days in. I don't even know what day it is today. Who knows? But regardless, I really do like this tank a lot. I think a lot of you guys are going to like the tank too. Like I said, when you're going to kill it too, I'm jumping around here a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm sick. It sucks being sick. Especially on a week where you want to make a ton of videos because the patch came out. See how I die here? Watch that. So this is what happens when you're dying, and this chieftain played to a T what he should have done. He shot my breech, and then he started to dissect me, and that's basically what you have to do. So shoot the breech of the tank, take it out. Side shots are great. All the crew are, well, there's 2 crew in the turret and 1 driving, so if you shoot the side on and the turret is facing forward, just line up the 2 guys in the turret, get that kill, wham bam, Thank you, Stan. That's basically it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you think about this thing if you have it. Oh, God. I'm going to go lay in the bathtub or something. I'll see you guys later. Peace.